Welcome back to The Big Show. It's Alex talking to the stars of Broadway, and trust me, in the last year, there's no bigger star than Chad Kimball. How are you?
I'm doing well here in New York.
It's freezing, that's what it is.
It's freezing, that's right, and then it's really hot inside, so, and then we start doing the show, it gets even hotter.
What happens vocally then when it's freezing outside, humid in here, and on stage, God knows what's happening there?
That's a good question. I have to write a report after every show to like figure it out for myself. I don't. I try and forget, but it's funny because the weather does definitely affect you. In the summer, it gets super humid, and then so we're racing for the cold. So it's just the opposite.
I tell you what I love about a show is where you see performers who you've never seen before and they blow you away and you wonder, where have you been all of our lives? And Memphis really is your show. You carry the whole thing. There's no question about it. And your voice is unique and different and your personality is massive within it. You must have been thrilled when you got the gig, and then to know you did it so well and won all the awards must just be every dream for an actor on Broadway.
It's absolutely a dream come true. And thank you, by the way, for those words. It's still surreal. We started work on this in 2003. I want to say, yes, it's been almost 8 years since we did the first kind of incarnation of it, and since then we've done 3 subsequent productions, smaller productions, and then we did our out of town tryout. And it's just to be able to come here and have people recognize the work that we've done and also the audience to recognize. They seem to recognize it every night, which is fantastic. So it's really, really quite astonishing.
The first time I saw you, I'll tell you what it reminded me of, Michael Cavanagh in Moving Out, the Billy Joel musical. You've got exactly the same thing where you carry the whole thing, and I can't imagine anybody else doing it. Has that been said before?
Yeah, it has. A lot of people do say that to me. And in fact, the funny thing is a lot of people at the stage door, they say, so what part of Tennessee are you from? I say, well, I'm actually from Seattle. So it is kind of nice to be able to kind of have your own say as far as what the role is and how it comes across. And I mean, my understudy Brian and Brad, they both bring different things to it as well. But it is nice to have a uniqueness, a unique quality that is completely different from a lot of things that have been done.
Most shows on Broadway are ensemble. There's about 20 people who carry the whole thing together. With you, if you're not on form, we're going to feel it in the audience. How do you cope with that before you go on?
You know what? It's funny. The first scene that I'm in is kind of this scene where nobody knows who I am. I come into a black club on Beale Street. And so everybody on the stage kind of stops and looks at me. And then everybody in the audience kind of stops and looks at me. So I kind of try and use that as it's a lot of fun to come out and say, everybody basically is asking this question, who is this guy, what's he gonna do? And so you kind of just get shot out of a cannon, and from there you don't really stop, you can't really stop. So it's good just to batten down and go along with it.
All right, I'm going to find out more about you next and play more tracks from the show. What's your favourite song in the show?
Oh gosh, it's like asking a parent who's their favorite child is. I love Memphis Lives in Me. Which I get to sing, but one of my favorites is Colored Woman, which Montego gets to sing. There's so many, but those two I think are my top 2.
Let's take Colored Woman, then we'll talk about that song you mentioned, and we'll play it in a bit because that's my favourite song from the show. We're back next, Belfield on Broadway, talking to the star of Memphis. We're back with Chad Kimball. He's the guy who comes on stage every night for 2.5 hours and has to knock it dead, literally, by yourself with a load of other people who are brilliant as well. What I love about this show, it's got a gospel element to it. And that's always going to move you in the audience, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the great part about the score is what David Bryan has written, who is a founding member of Bon Jovi, by the way, is that it's, he has written for the radio for years and years and years. And so to come to the theater and to write a musical, he writes the songs and crafts the songs as though it were on the radio. And the show's about the radio, among other things. And so people are just instantly drawn in because it's got the hook. It's got the A, B, A, B. I'm not going to pretend to know how to write a song, but it's got all of those elements that people know already. So they're ready, and whether they know it or not, they're more in tune with what's going on just by the nature of the music. It's a lot of fun to sing too, because when you know people are really listening in a way that they've always listened before, but then it's something different, and something different than traditional. Well, traditional, when I say traditional, I mean the last 15 years of musical theater history, Broadway history. It's a lot different, and so in a good way. And I think it's really just kind of gets people right from the onset.
From the moment you walk on, do you have to not think about what's coming next and just live in the moment? Because it could really screw you up if you start worrying about what you're going to do in 20 minutes' time.
Oh, yeah. There's not enough room in my brain to think that far ahead anyway. It's a lot of fun to be able to come to the theater, and even a year and a half later, to still be able to work on it every night, and to still be in that moment, and to still be able to react off of what my fellow actors are doing. It's a lot of fun. It is a dream come true.
I thought it was really cool. What was interesting about it is it's a story about a DJ and wanting to play black music on a white radio station and the stuff that goes along with that. But of course, as all great musicals are on Broadway, it's a love story as well.
Sure, absolutely. And I think that I've said before that this really this Memphis is really kind of the true American story. It's a story about a very important part of our history, and with the racial barriers coming down. I mean, certainly we have more to do, but I read a quote the other day that said, "When music changes, so does the law in the state." Oh, we've got some music playing in the background now, but it is true. When music really does make a difference, especially thinking John Lennon's 30th anniversary of John's death, and he really sparked a change in people as well, not only with the Beatles, but with the stuff he was doing himself. And so kind of in that way, you really see how music can change not only a local people, but a global people. And, once my character started playing this rhythm and blues on the white radio, they called it, which is just right in the middle of the radio dial, which where the frequency was highest, people started to listen, and it kind of just caught on like gangbusters. So it's important, and it went out to the rest of the world, and rock and roll was born. So
Chad Kimball is the star of this musical called Memphis, and Memphis Lives in Me is probably one of the greatest numbers to be written on Broadway in the last 10 years. It's the ultimate 11 o'clock number, really, isn't it?
It really is, and it's great because when he wrote it, I don't think he was told, "We need an 11 o'clock number." He said, "Well, what's that? A show's that long?" and certainly he wrote an anthemic song that just really embodies the entire show and what this guy is about, and an amazing song. And I'm just blessed that I get to sing it.
Right, go straight into it. We're back with Chad. He's the star of Memphis. You just heard him there with just a beautiful song, Memphis Lives in Me. The ultimate Broadway number because it starts quiet, just on the piano, and ends up crescendoing into this big, massive, great, big, whopping song. Sure. How difficult is it to get to the end of it?
I think the question is how difficult is it to finish it? I think it's quite a song. And it's great, though, because it starts with, not to give away too many clues, but it starts as a soliloquy, and it's the first time we really see him alone with his own thoughts. Instead of trying to convince other people, he's, I think, at once trying to convince himself. And but yeah, going 2.5 hours on a full tank of gas and then getting to that song, it's a bit hard, but it's the adrenaline kicks in, and it's a lot of fun.
Hey, Chad, I've got to ask you a couple of honest questions. One about winning a Tony. Obviously, that's what you dream of when you're in musical theatre, and you've got it. Yeah. Was there any better moment than that?
Oh, man. When we won Best Musical, it was probably one of the sweetest moments of my life, just because we have worked so hard and so long on this piece, and we all have believed in it so fervently. And when they announced that, when Bernadette Peters announced that it was Memphis. I mean, it couldn't have gotten any sweeter.
And then, of course, there's those shows you're in when they're flops and they don't work. And I was reading through your biog, and you were in a show called Good Vibrations, which I saw. Well, when I say I saw it, I saw about 15 minutes and stood up and walked out because it was so hideous. Do you know when it's goddamn awful and should never have got on stage in the first place?
Yes. I mean, I think you do. I think you hope against hope that it's not going to be bad. But, with Good Vibrations, and then also I did Lennon right next door at the Broadhurst, and that was many considered a flop as well. But I think both shows came at the material from different ways. Good Vibrations, just kind of was what they wanted was a feel-good, young musical with the Beach Boys music, obviously, and didn't really have enough time to work on it. Lennon, by contrast, Don Scardino, who wrote it, had worked for 10 years writing it, and it just didn't seem to get the traction that it needed. So yeah, I think you come away with those with your objectivity in tow, or your subjectivity in tow. I don't know which one. And so you hope to be a little more careful, and you hope to maybe be a part of a project that you can believe in a little more. But yeah, you get those wounds every now and then, and it's hard to get back, but you do.
Two very quick questions on the back of that. Do you know it's rubbish when you start it? And B, do you ever wonder whether it's you?
No, I don't think so. I think if you join a company and start a musical, that you've signed on to, obviously you believe in it. I think it becomes clearer over time. It just depends on how much clearer and what that time is. So, no, I think you start with the optimism and the hope. You have to. But really is a discipline, because, a lot of people say, well, you're just there for 2.5 hours. Well, I start about 4 hours before, and then I don't come down until about 3 hours after. So the job is taxing, but the payoff is huge.
It's on here at the Schubert Theatre where we're talking from today. Why is Schubert Alley so cold? It's the coldest street in the whole world, isn't it?
Well, it's got this wind factor. You turn that corner on 45th Street, at least I do, and I walk into it, and I walk right into the wind, and I think, oh my God, I've got about 50 feet to get in that door. And but the Schubert is the crown jewel, pretty much, of Broadway theaters. I mean, it's been here for years. It's the Schubert Theatre in Schubert Alley, kind of the heart of Times Square, and so it's awesome to be here, and it's awesome that when we found out, we thought, oh God, the Schubert, the crown jewel, let's go and let's get in there. It's a beautiful house, very intimate and wonderful to play.
Chad Kimball is certainly the biggest star on Broadway right now. I love this show. Seriously, I said to Juliana, who's the PR for it, this is going to win a ton of awards, and it did quickly, and it's not surprising. Come and see it if you get the chance, and the CD is amazing as well. And it's all about you, Chad. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you very much. Very pleasure to be here.